call it an idea to exit because that's my signature, right? I went from an idea
Yeah.
to an exit, and that's pretty much what most entrepreneurs I meet aspire to, right? Very few will get there, but everyone wants that.
Martians landed,
Yes.
wearing Prada suits,
Yes.
drinking Henry's seltzer,
Yes.
chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and
Your branding here,
yes, brand.
your message here,
Yes, and
a verse about
yes,
your product here.
yes,
I'm Hersh Redman.
yes, and
I'm a message therapist.
yes,
And I have a podcast.
yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes,
We'll help you fix the world
yes.
or your bottom line.
All right,
Your bottom line.
get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
Welcome to Yes Brand. Hersh Rapon it's not here today. I am Tomasis Yakalopoulos, sitting in for him, and I wanted to welcome Lens Crafters as his sponsor. Lens Crafters, if you don't have insurance, they give you a $50 bonus, or if you have a $50 bonus, if you don't have insurance, 50% off your lenses, and then always read the small print. I can't read because I did not get my glasses yet.
Actually, so here's the thing. I don't have Lens Crafters as a sponsor, but I was thinking, wow, I don't think they've ever had that good a commercial. We should bring them on to the Yes Brand podcast. Lens Crafters, if you're listening, this is Hersh. We can do all kinds of creative for you. Why not? Why not? You would be our first major sponsor. If we're going to do a sponsor for this show, we want it to be big. We got to go big. Today, we're talking about brands with someone who really knows brands. You may remember The Art of Shaving as one of the brands that this gentleman has built and sold. And his name is Eric Malka. And I'm super excited to have him on because, for one thing, he can talk to us about what makes a brand work, what makes a brand relationship with a founder durable, some of the things that a lot of founders overlook when it's time for them to build a brand. And he's now a personal brand as someone who's sharing his knowledge with people who are coming up as founders. He is as busy as ever, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what he's doing and what he's up to with SBI, his new firm, and we're going to get into it. And I don't know if he's going to do a Greek dialect or not. I don't know. That just came out. I didn't really plan that dialect. But Eric, welcome to Yes Brand.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, Greek is close to the heart. I love the country. I travel there every summer.
There we go. Okay,
They
so
think I'm Greek when I'm there. You
yeah,
found the right persona.
it was a cosmic. That's right. It was like a cosmic connection. So, tell the audience a little bit about what got you started with brands, because we've spoken before, but we didn't actually talk about that. Um,
Yeah.
how you even got into this field?
It's funny. I was thinking about that recently. Why did I go the brand route instead of just the business route, right? It was kind of instinctive. That's the world I grew up in. I come from a community of entrepreneurs, and being French, Moroccan, Jewish, a lot of our communities are behind famous brands, whether it's Guess jeans or Buffalo jeans, there's so many examples of brands that were founded by people within my community. So I kind of grew up in that. My first business was in the surfwear world, and I created a brand called Aquasurf back in 1989 in Puerto Rico. So it came instinctively to me. And then when I met my wife in 94, she was obsessed with beautiful brands from France, where she was born and grew up. So, whether it was Guerlain or, all the beautiful French brands, Christian Dior, it's a real branded world of
Yeah.
specialty retailers, right? So I think we both came from that mindset. And the way I got into the art of shaving is I started working for a distributor of well-known brands from the UK, including men's shaving brands, from Jermyn Street in London. So we were always enmeshed with, I was never part of selling widgets that had no names. And, that's probably a bad thing because I believe that some of the most successful people are in very unsexy businesses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're in the sexy world of branding, but that's so difficult. That's like that's like trying to be an artist, right? It's a tough world to break through. So the harder the struggle, the greater the pleasure at the end, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mention the sexiness of it. Look, there's as entrepreneurs, we know that a lot of the most important work is not the sexy work, is not the glamorous, stuff. It's
Yeah,
not a no job in building brands is going to be glamorous all the time.
not in
Um,
the beginning, that's for sure.
but tell us a little bit about unique challenges that you face building luxury brands.
Unique challenges, I gotta tell you, we had a magical ride. I mean, to go from your kitchen table to global recognizable brands sold to Procter and Gamble in less than 12 years, there's not that many obstacles along the way, right? So I have to acknowledge that as being extremely lucky. But if I have to talk, what were some of our challenges? I mean, I think some of our challenges and the challenges that most people face are based on their weaknesses coming into the game.
Mm.
So it depends what your weaknesses are, right? You're going to be confronted with them. That's where your pain points are, right? For me, it was maybe, scaling my people and finding, staff. Um, Fortunately, we didn't face the traditional problems that people faced. And that's why I believe timing and luck is part of that recipe. And we had lots of that. Some of the things people face are challenges with cash flow. There's always money problems. We didn't have that because within almost 18 months of starting the business, we generated $750,000 in profits a year. And that was like, winning the lottery as a
Yeah.
30-year-old. I could finance a lot of my organic growth internally with my cash flow. I didn't have to seek investors or bank who wouldn't be looking at me anyways. So that was extremely lucky. The second thing was getting our products into the hands of consumers or even creating a beautiful brands that resonate with consumers. I happen to be married to a gifted brand developer who became a great formulator, has impeccable taste, and helped create a brand that really resonated with that consumer. So the other thing we could have struggled with is our distribution, right? We ramped up our distribution to Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus came to us in 1998. We weren't even thinking about wholesale back then. And they called us at the store and said, would you like to meet with us? And we said, yeah, of course. Next thing you know, we decided to go all in with our distribution of wholesale because retail was so expensive to roll out. And it was right at the time when the metrosexual movement was being coined in the press. And all the buyers of all the stores in the country were thinking, let's get men's grooming in our doors. Who's the men's grooming brand out there? It was us. We were the big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Thousand store distribution opens up to us in less than 2.5 years. So, it's not lost on me that we had a magical ride.
Yeah.
And why did we have a magical ride? It is a combination of talent, hard work, luck, and really impeccable execution of the business plan. Even in today's standard, 12 years is still a relatively short time to achieve what we did.
Yeah. And, I liked what you said about some of the problems or a lot of the problems that people have on that journey they bring with them coming in. Um, and that's something that I hadn't thought of that way. But when you think about the fact that first time founders often, fail, let's say. I mean, we know how slim the success rate is in general
Yeah,
for brand launches and so forth. But, possibly it's not the product that failed. It's the founder that
100%.
failed. What is one of the biggest things that founders neglect to focus on?
Learn,
Yeah.
learn, learning. I believe my success was due to my obsession with learning and not learn, I wasn't learning about astrology. I
Right.
wasn't learning about, things that I had curiosity about. I was learning about stuff I needed to know to get to the next level, to raise my ceiling. The ceiling of your business is directly proportional to your own ceiling emotionally and intellectually, as a person. So if I want to scale my business, I need to learn everything about scaling businesses. If I want to create a beautiful brand, I need to learn everything about branding. And that's what I did throughout my career. I constantly chased information to get, it's almost like the train tracks, right? If I don't put those train tracks, the train's gonna fall into the road. So
Right.
my learning was essential to my growth and to the business growth.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um,
And having
when
a
you
great partner, by the way, because there are two sides of the brain and everybody has a weak one.
well, that's a very good point as well, Eric, because I think that I don't know that one person will be as successful, no matter how good they are, as two. It just for the
Almost
reasons you described.
almost every great successes and great brands were created by more than one person.
Yeah.
And you know, of course, we look at the lead singer of the band, and we're enamored with them, but it's the guy in the back that's writing all the music sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So
Quite
so
often.
quite often in music, it's two guys or two girls or
Yeah.
girl and a guy, right? It's two people. In our case, it was my wife and I, and she reminds me all the time that I wouldn't have been such a hot business entrepreneur without her. And my
Yeah.
rebuttal is, likewise,
Yeah. Right.
likewise.
Right.
She's amazing at what I'm not strong at, and I'm really good at her weaknesses. And that was the magic we found. And that was luck because when I met her, I wasn't thinking, oh, she's going to make a great partner for my
Business
business,
partner. Yeah.
right? I was thinking this is, she's adorable. Let me find out
Yeah.
who she is. She was 20 years old. Who would know
Yeah.
that she would become that? And I had some experience as an entrepreneur. I knew I had some good instincts, but my business acumen had to be developed even further. And together we grew professionally. We had common goals. And she nailed it on her side of the brain, and I nailed it on my side of the brain. And together that created a multiple greater than 1+1. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so now uh you're still developing stuff, but as you've mentioned, if you were trying to do what you did at that time, focusing on one brand at a time, that would be an overwhelming and very limiting undertaking. Now you're sharing your knowledge. Your thing is, idea
yeah,
to exit, right?
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing
Well, it's
now.
I call it idea to exit because that's my signature, right? I went from an idea
Yeah.
to an exit, and that's pretty much what most entrepreneurs I meet aspire to, right? Very few will get there, but everyone wants that. Um, again, to bring analogy to music, a lot of great producers were originally singing artists, right? You
Mhm.
take Dr. Dre or Jay-Z or any of those guys, they were singing to make their mark,
Yeah.
and then they started producing artists to make their big, mark in the world. And that's
Yeah.
a little bit what I'm thinking, about myself. I had to buy my freedom and my and to achieve what I did by working on my own business, taking my own oxygen. And now I find myself wanting to help others, entrepreneurs in my lane, which I know best, to succeed and try to really create, if I help 10 or 20 brands, maybe one or two will become even greater than the one I built myself.
That actually, you know, triggers another a follow-up question, which is, so we understand that not everything can be a huge can change the world. Not every brand can, but there are some that are successful but not record breakers or something like
That's
that,
right.
right? At what point do you get a sense of, you said you had this magical ride with the Art of Shaving. At what point do you get with another example, let's say, the feeling like it's either that it's going to work, but maybe it's not going to blow up incredibly huge?
Well, for me, it starts in my first conversation because everything I do is to support entrepreneurs. That means that I'm not imposing my vision or my standards onto them. I'm asking them a simple question, which is, what do you want? And if they tell me that they just want to create a nice little business to support themselves and have a great lifestyle, then that's one strategy, and that's how I support them. If they tell me I want to be the next, billionaire, then that's a whole different ball game, and that's what we focus on. So it really starts with, what do I want? Now, for me, what did I want? For whatever reason, I wanted to go big. And I was driven obsessively by that. And in my book, I call it a chip on my shoulder. And I believe that the greatest motivator of entrepreneurs is that chip that we have on our shoulders. And it doesn't matter if you're me or Tom Brady or, you know, you can have a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Every great person in history started out with a chip on their shoulder. That's my theory. And that's the greatest driver. And why is that a great driver? Is because the other drivers that we know of success are aspiration, purpose, and goals. But those are really nice things. But the real driver to me is the reptilian brain, the survival instinct. And the fact that I had a chip on my shoulder growing up, I think really started to build this story unconsciously that I needed to prove the world wrong. And that
Yeah.
became an obsessive drive to become successful. It was beyond money. It was beyond purpose or branding. It was just, I feel like shit, because I'm a teenager. I didn't know that at the time. And everybody thinks I'm the most likely, guy to not succeed in life in my community. And I'm going to prove the world wrong. So that's my theory, that chip. And when you talk, you start, people hide it. But when you
Yeah.
start scratching the surface, you start asking them what's going on. I always find that chip somewhere in that story. Always.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, Bono has talked about how, his dad, kind of out of love, would say to him, "You're not going to amount to anything." Not because he was trying to, bust him down. He was just saying, "Look, this is where we come from. You're probably not going to get out.
That's
You
right.
just, this is what you're going to do. You're going to work in a factory, and that's it. It's
And
okay."
and and there's two types of people. I don't know if you read the book Mindset, but
Yeah.
basically the premise of the book is that there's only two kinds of people: the ones with a growth mindset and the ones with the fixed mindset. The one with the
Yeah.
fixed mindset think, okay, this is my predicament and it's always going to be like this. And the growth mindset says, this is my predicament and I need to make a change ASAP. I need to figure out a way to get out of that predicament, right? That
Yeah.
was me. I hated my life as I knew it. I didn't want to become like my parents. You know, they're wonderful people. I just didn't want my life to look like their lives. And I ran away. I literally took a Greyhound bus at the age of 17 from Canada to New York City.
Mm.
Undocumented immigrant, $100 in my pocket, no formal college education to speak of. And, I just had to get the hell out of Dodge,
Yeah.
and, they say the first step is the most important one. But if I didn't get on that Greyhound bus as a stupid 17-year-old putting himself in danger, I would not be speaking to you today. So
Where
that's how I look
where
at
did you
things.
go? So when you got to New York, what did you do? Did you have
So I
any
had
plan?
yeah, there was somewhat of a plan. I mean,
Okay.
um, my first goal was to land in a beach town in New Jersey where I would most likely have a job on a boardwalk working for people that I kind of knew.
Okay.
Uh, and I did that for a few weeks until I realized I hated it. And I had a cousin that lived in New York who was very successful in the clothing business, who I had seen for lunch on my way to New Jersey. And basically, I didn't know this, but my mom asked him to give me a job and look after me. And at lunch, he said, "Would you like to come and work for me in New York?" And I said, "Well, I have people waiting for me in Jersey, blah, blah, blah." But then when I realized the Jersey gig was not for me, I called him back and I said, "Is the offer still stand?" He said, "Yeah, come down to New York and you have a job." Now, it was not a glamorous job.
Right.
I was a warehouse clerk in the garment district in the crack era of 1985, and I made $150 cash a week for the job, but I had a place to sleep in an apartment in Midtown. So there was no glamour, but I was the happiest guy in the world, believe me.
Yeah.
Living in New York City, in America, working for $150 a week. I was the king of the hill at that point, at 18 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all relative. Um, you know, when we throw back to that idea to exit and everything begins with an idea, what are your thoughts on IP when it comes to, you know, originating brands?
IP is the most important asset in a brand. I mean, brand and IP are interchangeable. The IP is what you call a brand from the business standpoint, right? An
Yeah.
M&A world. Brand is what's consumer facing, if you will, but they're both the same thing. And when I sold The Art of Shaving, I learned that 95% of the value of my company was allocated to the trademark.
Yeah.
And the rest of my company's assets were irrelevant. My leases, my employees, my inventory, anything that was showing on my balance sheet was irrelevant. The only thing that was relevant and got me the price I was paid was what was not showing on my balance sheet, which was intellectual property value.
Right. And how is that? Well, obviously it's quantifiable, but how, sometimes the value of an IP can be so disparate from, the
Well,
balance sheet, you know?
of course, the way I describe it is brands are more valuable than companies. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. Companies have only one reason to exist, is to generate profits. Therefore, the value of a company is based on a multiple of their profits. A brand, on the other hand, their reason to exist is to dominate market share in consumers' mind and to to achieve adoration, if you will. And that is usually valued. There needs to be mathematics involved with any M&A transaction. So the way that's usually valued is a multiple of sales. But the reality is it can vary greatly. If you look at the stock market, you have brands like Tesla and Nvidia that are like 100 times, their profits,
Yeah.
right? It's like, it makes no sense. People are saying it's overvalued. It should be 20%, 20 times, 15 times, 25 times. Why is it so much? Because they're valuing it on a brand basis and not on a company basis. It's not a balance sheet equation. And sometimes you can get hurt because, if the business doesn't get there, you're left holding the bag. But from a branding perspective, you have these conglomerates that are based on acquisition growth. And the way they justify paying $100 million for a $20 million a company that sells $20 million a year and makes $2 or $3 million in profit is because they know that if they acquire this brand, they're going to turn it into $1 billion brand, and their economies of scales are going to generate $100 million in profit a year, and their $100 million purchase price becomes very small.
Yeah.
If they had to go out and try to create the brand that succeeded, they would have to try 100 times. They would spend a lot more than $100 million, and they may not get there. Might as well let the market decide the survival of the fittest, and whoever survives gets the prize. That's really the name of the game.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful combination of gambling and sure things, right? So finally, looking at what you've yet to do and what your kind of benchmark is at this point. What are you looking at in terms of legacy, in terms of what you want to accomplish?
Look, I spent most of my life focused on the destination, right? When I sell my company, blah, 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 today, I've been lucky enough to achieve that, and I'm really not focused so much on the long term as I am on the very, very, very near term. So for me, the shift has become more like, if I decide to work with someone or invest in a brand, it's people-based. Do I believe they have what it takes? Are they coachable? Are they fun to be around? Do I like being in the presence of this human being? Because I'm going to get to see them a lot.
Yeah.
So fulfillment and fun are my driving factors today. And I believe that can lead to success financially, and it could lead to legacy. But the focus is really on the leading measures, if you will. The leading measures being the actions I take every day, which is finding the right brands, finding the right founders, having fun, helping, being selfless as much as I can be, because I'm in a position to do so. And then maybe the rest is going to happen organically because of those actions that I take on a daily basis in my life.
Beautiful. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your being here. Where can people find you and find your book?
EricMalka.com. You can buy the book there. You can find the book on Amazon, on BarnesandNobles.com, online almost everywhere. It's called On the Razor's Edge, because that's what I think entrepreneurs, it's a pun with my business, but it's really how entrepreneurs live their lives. And story of the art of shaving.
All right.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and
it worked for you,
yes, then
subscribe and leave a
yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on.